Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support. Today I watched an interesting video on the A Homestead Journey channel titled, Americans Are Broke, Exhausted, and Done Pretending Everything's Fine. I'll include a link to this video below. I encourage you to check it out. One of the contributors said there's no future for non-wealthy Americans due to skyrocketing costs of essentials like homes, groceries, rent, mortgages, cars, gas, food, insurance, healthcare, and taxes. Well, it may seem that way to some people. Life here in America is certainly expensive, and it is likely going to get more expensive, especially if we see all of these rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. That could cause even more inflation. But I don't think that this contributor is accurate. You can't say there's no future for non-wealthy Americans. There's always a way to get ahead. When I graduated from college with my master's degree, I got a job teaching high school. Now, this was decades ago, but I was still only earning $29,000 a year. I got a bunch of roommates. I lived as cheap as I could, and I was eventually able to purchase my first rental property. I was able to renovate it. I was able to secure good tenants. I was able to increase the rent. I was able to cash flow really strong. I then was able to purchase a second rental property. Eventually, I purchased a primary residence. I moved all of my friends in with me. I started charging them rent. I started to generate positive cash flow from my primary residence. I was able to purchase more rental properties as time went on. I was only making $29,000 a year at my primary job. But I started a side hustle, and I was able to get ahead financially. Now, I'm not suggesting you get into rental real estate. It's a tough gig. I wouldn't wish that on some people. But you could start a business. There are a lot of businesses that you can do from home, and there are plenty of examples of people that have done quite well. So I don't think you can be pessimistic and say there's no future for non-wealthy Americans. You just have to get creative. You have to work hard. And sometimes you might fail. There have been a lot of successful entrepreneurs that have failed many times, but they didn't give up. Now, this contributor went on to say, the pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality is obsolete. Even a debt-free nurse earning $75,000 a year with an 808 credit score can't buy a home. Well, I disagree. If you live on the East Coast or West Coast in an expensive city, that might be true. But if you earn $75,000 a year and you have no debt and a great credit score like 808, you could certainly still buy a home in many areas of the Midwest. A lot of people like to call the Midwest flyover country. Yes, you can still buy a habitable home in the Midwest if you're only earning $75,000 a year. You may have to put in a little elbow grease in order to get it up to your standards, but it can be done. Now, this contributor said there's no upward mobility for middle class or the poor. Greed is dooming the next generation to homelessness. I don't think this is the case at all. If you are in the middle class or if you are part of the working poor, you may not be homeless, but you may have to live with family members or friends in order to survive. There are a lot of people right now doing this. A lot of people are sharing homes. It's the only way they can cover all of their expenses. And that's something that people did many generations ago, and it's coming back. And I'm afraid it's probably here to stay. Another contributor in this video said college leads to hundreds of thousands in student loan debt, but only 5% of people get field-related jobs, and they often get their wages garnished amid rising living costs. Well, this might be happening because student debt right now in this country is $1.7 trillion. And a lot of people chose to pursue their passion, and they gave no consideration to what the job market would be like after they graduated with a degree. And a lot of people found out the hard way that's probably not what you should do. Now, there are examples of people that got lucky. There are some talented people. They were able to break into whatever field they had an interest in. But that doesn't happen for some people. I think young people need to be strategic. select a field that is in demand and make sure that it is going to be in demand by the time you graduate. You could look at the BLS. A lot of that government data will provide predictions regarding different industries. You should also talk to insiders who are working in the job that you hope to get someday and see what they think. You shouldn't just rely on good luck. Luck may not be in your favor if you pick the wrong major. Now, this person also said that health insurance costs $300 to $1,000 a month, but it's ineffective because of high copays and high deductibles. Well, I think that depends on what type of plan you have and who your employer is. There are still some good health plans out there, but this person is right. You may have to pay a lot of money for your health insurance, and you may have a lot of out-of-pocket costs. But we're fortunate to have health insurance, because if you don't and something catastrophic happens to you, well, you could really find yourself in a world of hurt financially. I have a good friend who has had some serious health problems, and he's very fortunate to have health insurance because he told me his medical bills have exceeded $1 million. And he's still struggling. His medical bills may continue to mount. Now, this contributor also said retirement and 401k plans are inadequate. 80% of seniors are working post-retirement. Well, this might be due to the fact that cost of living adjustments have not kept pace with true inflation in this country. Now, I didn't fact check this individual. I don't know if 80% of seniors are working post-retirement. That seems a little high to me. But I certainly have noticed there are more gray-haired people in retail locations, and some of those folks do look like they are in their 80s or maybe even early 90s. And I suspect some of those people are not doing that to just remain active. Some of those people are doing that because the cost of living in America has gotten so expensive, and what they are bringing home from Social Security is simply not enough. Now, this contributor said luxuries like braces or dining out are unaffordable. Some people have to choose between these types of things and paying their utilities. Well, I want to talk about braces for a moment. Growing up, my parents did not have the money to pay for braces for me. And that's something that always bothered me as a young person. Sometimes I didn't want to smile because my teeth were very crooked. But after I got my financial footing and I graduated from college, I had a full-time job, I started accumulating rental properties, I had extra money set aside for things like braces. And so I paid for Invisalign myself, and it wasn't cheap. It was over $5,000, but I did that over a period of years. They provided me with aligners that I would change out every couple weeks, and I was able to get my teeth straightened as an adult. So I had to wait until I was an adult to do that. So it's not like something like braces is out of reach. It's just that you may have to make it a priority in your life and figure out a way to set money aside to do it. I mean, I had to wait years before I could do that. And I had to make some sacrifices in life to be able to set aside the money to pay for Invisalign. Now, there was another contributor in this particular video that said evictions are occurring year after year, and a lot of people are struggling in Florida, and some are resorting to stealing groceries to survive. I really hate to hear about that. I'm sure some cities in Florida are expensive, but I don't think anyone should be stealing groceries to survive. There are food banks, and I realize food banks sometimes run out, but there are often churches that are charitable. Someone could reach out to them and see if they could provide help. I think some folks may need to consider taking on additional employment if they're to the point where they're stealing groceries. I don't think folks should risk being incarcerated by stealing food. Instead, look for other options. Now, this particular contributor said that living in a car or living in a camp and foraging or hunting are the only ways to exit the rat race, because society isn't normal anymore. And I've heard of this. There are people who are living in their cars, and I'm not talking about a nice van. I'm talking about an old car. I watched a video of a woman who is receiving Social Security, but that Social Security doesn't provide enough for her to qualify for any apartments in her city. And she's living in her car. And some people commented beneath that video saying she should move and rent something in a cheaper city. But she doesn't want to do that because she doesn't want to live far away from her son. I really hate to hear about people living in their cars, because that may not be safe. You know, we have extreme heat, we have extreme cold at times, and someone could freeze to death, someone could become overheated, pass out, and die. Someone could be robbed. Someone could certainly break a window in the car and assault someone. There are a lot of things that unfortunately could happen. But yes, there are people that are living in their cars because they simply can't afford rent in their area. And that's unfortunate. I really blame the government for holding interest rates artificially low for far too long after the pandemic. That really caused the real estate market to get overheated. It drove prices up for real estate, and it also drove rent prices up. And now some people can't afford rent anymore, and there are people that don't know what to do, and that is truly tragic. Another contributor in this video said you should live frugally and live below your means, and you should not eat out. You should cook from scratch, and you should avoid luxury brands. And I agree with this contributor's thoughts. Being debt-free is the way to go if you can pull it off. It may take time. And cooking from scratch, it's a lot healthier than eating out, especially if you are accustomed to going through the fast food line. That stuff is terrible for you in many cases. If you can buy yourself a big bag of beans, if you can buy a big bag of frozen vegetables and a big bag of frozen fruit, and you can buy yourself a big bag of rice, you could really make that last a long time. Now, if you're going to make big dietary changes, you should certainly consult your family doctor before doing so. Make sure you're going to get the right nutrition. But I can tell you, if you're just eating out all the time, you're probably not getting the right nutrition anyway. Why not save a lot of money by cooking from scratch at home? In terms of luxury brands, avoid that like the plague. Now, I once read a book that said you shouldn't buy trendy clothing because these trends only last so long, and then you got a closet full of the stuff that isn't popular anymore. Instead, don't buy these luxury brands. You don't need to have a certain symbol on your shirt. You can just buy yourself a nice shirt, a nice pair of pants. You can buy yourself some comfortable, nice, supportive shoes. You don't need to buy some name brand shoes. You don't need to buy yourself name brand jeans or name brand dress pants. You can go to Goodwill and you can buy gently used clothing. You can wash it and it's great. It'll last you for years, maybe even decades if you take care of it. You can buy yourself some really comfortable, quality-made shoes on clearance. Now, I buy shoes new. I don't buy used shoes at somewhere like Goodwill. But I do buy a lot of clothes used. I think that's the way to go. Now, I buy undershirts and underwear new, and I buy socks new, but when it comes to shirts, pants, ties, sport coats, suits, I try to buy that stuff used. You can save a lot of money. For me, I don't want my money invested in clothes that hang in the closet. I'd rather have my money in assets that provide a financial return while I sleep. You need to learn how to make money while you sleep if you ever want to get wealthy. But that's just what I think, and what do I know? I'm just some guy on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, there is a link in the description beneath this video. You can read more about the different membership levels. Please also check out some of the great books I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.